Welcome to the Be Well, Be Keto podcast, where we showcase ordinary people who have achieved extraordinary results. Your host is the high-energy girl, Tracy Gluhite.
Hey everyone, this is Tracy and welcome to Be Well, Be Keto, where ordinary people achieve extraordinary results. And I am absolutely thrilled today to have a wonderful guest named Robert Sikes on the show, who is the creator of Keto Savage. He's a professional bodybuilder. Yeah, you can win without the carbs. And thank you so much, Robert, for coming on our show today.
Thank you, Tracy. It's a pleasure to be here.
Awesome. Well, I met you briefly at KetoCon, was completely impressed that you are crushing that old school bodybuilding dogma that you can eat a lot of fat, be healthy, satiated, and go on to win a title.
Yeah, I don't know, my whole goal is just to share that in my experience as much as possible, because I think it's just a significantly healthier approach than what's currently being used. So the more people we can get on a healthy, long-term, sustainable approach, that's where it's at right there.
Yeah, that's smart. Really wise. So for the people who don't know you already, tell us a little bit about yourself so they can get to know who Robert Sikes really is.
So I guess if we want to go back to the beginning, I was 115 pounds when I started working out. That was as a junior in high school, and then kind of followed the old school, bro dieting approach, bulked up to 230 pounds for my off season and, cut down to 150 in 3 months time. So lost 70 pounds in about 3 months, very unhealthy, developed eating disorders, lost a lot of muscle. That was all using, carbohydrates. Did 2 more shows after that, continued to develop eating disorders. I did it better, but not near as good as I do now. And then after that last competition, I kind of went keto and decided I was going to try and find a better way, and hadn't looked back since. I've been keto for about 3 years, competed twice this year with a full-on ketogenic approach. I got my pro card, got down to 3.5% body fat, and maintained a level of health that I had not seen in previous years. So, yeah.
That's awesome. So you actually doubled your weight when you started lifting. And what kind of time period was that?
That was over the course of, I don't know, that was probably over the course of like 3 or 4 years or so. But so much of that was body fat. Like I had it in my head that I was going to compete at 200 pounds. So I wanted to bulk up to 230 and then cut to 200. And in reality, my main goal was just to get as lean as possible. And that wound up being 150 pounds. So like 70 pounds of weight in 3 months time. And it was just lost a ton of muscle. And it was just as unhealthy as you could possibly do it.
Wow. So what year was that when you started competing?
My first show was 2012.
Okay.
So that was the first year. And then I did 2 more in 2014, I believe, 2015. And then 2 this year, 2017.
And when did you start keto and how did you find it?
I started keto after my 3rd show. Have you ever heard of John Kiefer's carb backloading protocol?
Mm-mm.
So basically it's kind of keto in a sense. You have you basically stay keto during the first part of the day, and then at night you eat a lot of high glycemic index carbs like donuts, cereal, stuff like that. So the science is pretty interesting, actually. I didn't really gain that much body fat, so I was doing that. And I noticed that I felt better before I introduced the carbs. So I just kind of slowly started removing them as well, and then it became full-on keto. And I didn't even know what I was doing at the time. I started doing some more research, found out what it was called, and then, just have continued that approach to not introducing the carbs. And I haven't had a carb-based meal in over about 3 years now.
So we have a new term. It's called accidental keto.
Yeah, exactly. I did not have a clue, because 3 years ago, keto is on fire right now. Everybody's heard of it. But 3 years ago, it wasn't near the buzzword that it is now. So yeah, I just kind of stumbled upon it.
Oh, that's awesome. And so then this year you did 2 competitions. Which one were you pro at, the first one or the second one?
I got my pro card at the first competition.
Okay.
And that was, I believe, April and May, or March and April, something like that. And I had done about a 4.5 month prep. I started prepping December 1st of 2016, and then did about 4.5 months worth of prep to go into those competitions. And it just kept getting better all the way through. Like typically, competitors will leave protein really high and they'll taper their fat and their carbs down. And, I did the exact opposite. My carbs were already low. I left my fat relatively high and tapered protein. So towards the end there, I was at 1,650 calories and about 65 grams of protein, whereas my competitors were all taking in about 300 grams of protein and, 30 grams of fat. And I beat them.
That is awesome. I saw a picture of you doing the splits on stage.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Oh my gosh. I was like, whoa, that is my favorite picture. That's hot. So when you started out before, so you were doing keto and you started on your regular macros, what would your ratios be?
When I started keto?
Before you started your cut, just in maintenance mode.
So I want to say my intake was around 2,500 calories at that time. And I wasn't tracking it religiously in the off season. I was kind of more instinctive with it. But so my protein was probably a bit higher. I was probably around about 70% fat of my calories coming from fat. And then the rest of that being protein, I actually probably had more carbs then, larger salads, a lot more trace carbs. And then as I prepped for that 4.5 months, I tapered fat a little bit. I think at the start I was at around 250 grams, and then towards the end I was down to 140 grams of fat. But yeah, protein got all the way down to 65 grams because my mindset was, if I'm keto, my energy, my fuel is coming from fat. I don't want to play with that too much. I don't want to taper that any more than I have to. So I'm going to leave that high and make protein my main, variable factor.
And where did you keep it? Did you boost back up your protein now that you're off season, that you're done competing?
Yeah, so I'm kind of doing an experiment right now. I've kind of been manipulating a lot of different variables, but generally speaking, yeah, because like when you're in the off season, the primary focus is to build muscle. When you're in a prep, the primary focus is to maintain muscle. That's why I didn't really worry so much about tapering my protein in a prep, because ketones themselves are incredibly muscle sparing.